haven't seen it.
Okay. Bye. You see? Okay.
Hello.
Oh no, I was looking around. Yeah.
Things out.
Yeah.
Do you need any water?
No, I've got some.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
No, I actually sold that. I sold off of my kids.
Yeah, now it's right side.
Oh, no, you, honestly, just like, so yeah, I work at, development. Here's these are communications. Okay. That's, I mean, yeah, give them my number. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Right, right.
Hello. Hi. So I was wondering who is the spokesperson that I could talk to for Jen.
Yeah, so we've got Shane, you have here, and then let me take you over because I'm working on audio. Let me bring you over here.
Because I don't know what they're talking about. I don't want to be awkward when I roll up on them.
I don't know. I feel awkward in general because I don't know anyone.
Oh, no, you're good.
And I was trying to convince my sister to come with me. She's like, I'm not working. I was like, I ain't working.
Nikki, this is
Hi.
Seven.
Hi. Nice to meet
Seven,
you.
this is Nikki, the ACLU. She has a relative that she doesn't speak on and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So whenever you
Absolutely.
give her that opportunity, she
Yeah,
will.
that'd be great. Here, we can move over here. Yeah, so then I just like So I took everything with me. Yeah. I'll be cool.
ACLU blue. We have the red ones. They're revolutionary. So we like to name our buttons. When I say I'll be here at 7, it's usually 7:30. Sometimes it's 8. But today I was like, I don't have Jalen, so I don't have an excuse. So I'm leaving on time. And now I'm here a little early.
I was panicking that I was gonna get here like before everybody else. I was like, ugh.
No, yeah.
I have not heard from him. Right now, they have limited his phone calls to Steve, and he's only been able to call my other sibling. It's not easier to use the only call when I'm working. And I don't just heard this video, so it's not been great. And I've tried writing him letters. He gets my letters. He can't send letters. They have been out of stamps for months. I don't know how, but they're saying they're out of order. Commissary, he gets like 4 items.
The volume controls are on the middle.
And does he have medicine?
He's actually been sharing with his cellie, and because he had extra since he was a kid, and this is starting to work. It has an asthma, and he's doing it. They run months of so I'm like, without, I caught him with blood sugars, his diabetes, high blood pressure, and I was like, this is just getting hard than right here. I tried calling him, talking to her, but they were busy. They returned my phone. And now I'm starting to feel like they're giving me some emotional
Where?
I was trying to see what you were doing.
they've been monitoring very closely.
Have you found a
There's probably no room on the
I was talking to my mom about it because she's worried that they're going to start retaliating again. Because when we had the first when they wanted to limit the population, that's when they're telling them that they weren't I'm worried about if I do that, they're going to try and do something to talk about limiting the population. Him going to the population means he's dead.
I know the bosses
I was like,
the moment follow the way and
that's what I'm That's why I try to record our phone calls and stuff. So a little bit. Oh yeah. I know when it's not. He's taking it hard. That's kind of the rock after my grandpa passed. And I was like, not having that contact with those was making her lose her mind. And I was like, I got too busy. I was like busy all the time. I was like, I got a whole list for you. You can redo my closet and everything.
It might be off. You might need to switch it on.
Good call. Hi everyone, we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes, so if everyone wants to start kind of gathering around as you can, finding a shady spot where you can listen in. We do have an ADA section right here for anybody who would like to use that. We also have a station with water, sunscreen, Gatorade. Please stay hydrated. And also, if you want to start heading over to our table right here and grabbing an electric candle, the Capitol does not allow open flames or real candles, so please make sure that you grab one of our electric candles right here. They're totally free, and we'll get started in just 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh, hey, how are you?
I'm good. I like this. I like the earrings. It's all nice. Thanks. You're welcome. Thanks.
I'm Lila.
Hi.
7?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Sorry.
Yeah. She's here to get some
Yeah, we both worked this morning and actually went to library and got a tour.
My father's incarcerated, but I've dealt with the system since I was probably like 5.
Sentence by the court was on the death sentence. Set
Oh,
His son.
He just got out of jail right now, so he's on outpatient program. Is he here until like yeah? And so he's doing a lot better now. Trying to keep his stuff together, just not trying to go back to the same stuff. And I'm just like trying not to push him too hard because I don't want that to drive him back to stupid stuff. I want to say Odyssey, but I think it's the Haven.
Okay.
But because they were gonna send him the inpatient program, and he's dumb and was like, "I'm gonna run if you do that." And I'm like, "Please don't do that." I was like, "I know you hate it." I'm like, "Please don't do that." I was like, "Just go there and get you an outpatient." He's like, "No."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "Please stop telling people this." I'm like, I can't do it.
Right. That's not something to advertise.
Yeah. But I think this time he's really done better. He lost his dad. He was incarcerated this last time, so I think that's kind of opened his eyes to what he's doing in life. And I'm just like, I really hope you get it together this time. It's not the second go around. Kind of overarching every other facility in the state between my uncles and my dad. No, we're not saying that. Yeah, let's do that. Well, and it's like, then they talk about other people who don't have family in there, and I'm just like, I will figure something out. I was like, I will build have there, and so it's like, I get them and the other issues. And I was like, I just don't feel like it's right here. You may not be my family, but it's still not okay.
Removing that.
And I'm just like, I feel bad for a lot of people who don't have family. It really is. That's why I was so grateful, like, to reach out to Ray, and then she gave me all these resources, because I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm clueless.
Nobody does. All figuring it out.
But I feel like you have a little bit better, like,
make it
idea
hard
of
for us
things than I.
All just figuring it out. Yeah. See that guy? One wheel? Come on.
He's got it figured out, actually.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, man.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Nice to meet other people.
Right, so I'm with ASA, like, they're like,
Okay.
and I used to be
Normally at these events, I didn't bring it to this.
right, so, yeah. Yeah, where is Grant?
Where's the future DA?
Yeah, he knows it all.
But yeah, I'm
Is
just
that
so
something he's
grateful to meet
interested
all these people.
Or is that something he's pushing? Or yeah.
Pushing that on his agenda. Whatever that means.
But yeah, I'm just grateful to meet everyone. Y'all are kind of like my aspiration to do better. I'm about to finish.
You're funny. Like, everything you just said, you figured it all out on your own. That's so tough.
Like just all this stuff from you guys and then my family, I'm like, it's kind of determined what I want to do with my life. Like as soon as I finish my PhD, I want to go into counseling and become a youth advocate. And I think that's where we really need to start is these kids. That's like, the adults don't have enough programs. They're not given a chance to change. But if we can stop that cycle beforehand, it's good. And ready to do my own thing and start being you. Handle
Dig the mushrooms.
What time is it?
The whole title.
Honestly, I think we haven't been for a long time.
Good evening, everyone. I think we're ready to start now. Is everybody ready to start? Okay, great. First of all, I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening to the People's Not Prison Candlelight Vigil. And first of all, we're going to start with a moment of silence. I believe that's appropriate right now. So we'll just take a few seconds, about 30 seconds, for a moment of silence, just to remember those who are still in the struggle behind the walls, and also those who have passed because of various reasons, whether it's medical, not getting the attention medically that they need, or various other reasons. So let's honor them in their lives right now with a moment of silence. Okay. While we're still honoring them, we'll also do a prayer at this moment. So bow your heads or do what you like to do at this moment. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together tonight as we stand for those that are struggling right now, Lord, that are struggling with incarceration and struggling with getting the attention that they deserve, whether it's medically or any other kind of way. Father, we also like to ask you to be with the families and the loved ones and the friends of those that are struggling behind the walls, Lord. We pray that you be with them, comfort them, and strengthen them, and also strengthen those who are incarcerated right now. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Thank you all. I just want to let everybody know we can't have real candles, okay? So no lighting any fires, nothing like that. But we do have electric candles over there at the ACLU table. And if anybody would like one, there's more than enough. Please grab one. Also, there's water at the table. There's snacks. If anybody needs anything like that, please go over there and grab them. They're free, so help yourself. And we are gathered here tonight. We're going to talk about and stand in solidarity for those who are incarcerated and those who have lost their loved ones and also their families due to not receiving medical attention and also due to various other things. I mean, we all know that it's not easy, it's tough, So we're going to lift up them. We're going to stand in solidarity. We're going to stand together with them because, that's what we need to do. We need to stand for those who can't speak on their own behalf right now. And because, I was incarcerated, I spent years in prison myself, and it's hard to fight from within the walls. So I commend all of you for coming out tonight and standing for those who are not in the place to speak for themselves right now. So thank you very much for coming out. And right now, I would like to introduce Nikki Vanikapol from the ACLU.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nikki Vanikapol. I'm the Director of Campaigns at the ACLU of Utah. This evening, I'm sharing some joint remarks from both the ACLU of Utah and the Disability Law Center, who is also helping us put this on tonight. Tonight's vigil serves as a space for our community and people directly affected by the medical crisis and, in general, the crisis of mass incarceration to come together and share the stories which are far too often overlooked. Along with all of our community partners, we are holding this vigil because our communities deserve space to have their voices heard. We know that community building and organizing has always been at the root of change. Tonight is just one step in our collective work to address the systemic issues in our prisons. We stand here humbly with all of you, knowing we're here today amidst the hardship, loss, and grief on parts of our community members who are incarcerated and their friends, families, and loved ones. We hope tonight we can help provide some small measure of solidarity and community, and we will always commit to advocating for the rights, dignity, and humanity of people who are incarcerated. We must be clear about several things this evening and why our organizations are taking action and putting on this vigil tonight. Mass incarceration has always been a public health crisis. Prisons house some of the most medically vulnerable people in our communities, including many individuals with disabilities. The United States Supreme Court has repeatedly made clear that under our federal constitution, prisons have a paramount duty to provide necessary medical, mental health, and dental care to incarcerated persons. The same holds true of the Utah State Constitution and the Americans with Disabilities Act. You may be wondering why we named tonight's vigil People, Not Prisons. It's to serve as a reminder that the criminal legal system does not mean justice. It is built from a long history of racism, classism, and colonial practices set up too often to erase the personhood of those incarcerated. We are here and we must unite in solidarity around the idea of people and not prisons. So thank you to everyone for being here tonight. And just a note on the candles, they turn on the bottom. So if you feel so moved, feel free to turn on your candles tonight in solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. People, not prisons. Okay, right now we're gonna ask Ray Duckworth from Black Lives Matter of Utah to come up.
Hello. How is everybody? How are you? Good. My name is Ray. My name is Ray Duckworth. I'm the operating chairperson for Black Lives Matter Utah chapter. I stand here today as a community member, as the operating chair, as a Black woman in Utah, right? So if we're going to talk about the disparities, let's address them all. As I was preparing for this, I like to go over numbers. I hate numbers. I hate them, but sometimes they make things easier to look at. The worst set of numbers I was able to come across was 435 per 100,000 people are incarcerated in the state of Utah. And then that number sounds really scary. And then at the end of the sentence, it said that that was a world ranking at number 1. So I live in this state where we promote family, we promote progress, we promote these things, we promote love, we promote these things, but do we know those facts, those truths? That we are actually in a state where too many of us are not only unsheltered and unhoused, but we are incarcerated. On top of, so Lex would paint this for me too, and if you guys don't know Lex Scott, she would paint things visually. And she would say that if we would put ourselves in any situation and understand our hits on our shoulder. So I'm a Black woman, right? Black woman, I'm pansexual, I'm queer. These are my hits on my shoulder. And when you start adding them up, when you're incarcerated, when you have disabilities, those are more hits. And what that means is not enough people are listening because you have that many hits on your shoulder. Does that make sense? Clap with me if you're with me. All right, cool. So these are some scary numbers to live in. I already know that I'm dodging stats for just living and breathing and being a Black woman in this state. But to not even understand the other obstacles that are out there that also are obstacles against who I am as a person, right? And who we are as community. So I just wanted to bring those up to attention. We were able to get some speakers together, but I did want to also share a complaint that we recently had. He is a young 21-year-old male, and his mother reached out to us because he has a blood disorder. And this blood disorder requires medicine, and I believe it's supposed to be administered 3 times daily. Who is supposed to administer it? He is, but they do not give him access because they do not trust him with his medicine. So if you do not trust him with his medicine that is going to keep him alive, who is going to administer the medicine? You better find proper personnel. And they're not even doing that. They're not pushing for any of this. These are real life complaints that have came in the last 6 months. Somebody was denied diabetic medicine. Diabetes is one of the most leading causes within us all, right? Whether we fall from any ethnic background, diabetes is coming, right? So these are recent accounts. So this is a current situation. It's currently happening. Please be aware. And please also hold your local jails and the local prisons accountable. That's where your taxpayer money is going. You're paying for that stuff a lot of the times, right? You're paying for the people who operate it and everything like that. So hold them accountable. Start asking questions. Make sure you know the rates even when you are talking to these jails and these. It makes me sick. But thank you for having me.
Okay, how do those numbers make you feel? They should. We can't turn a blind eye to these numbers and act like they don't exist. We have to deal with them. That's the only way that things are going to change is if we deal with things. If we come to places like this and we have conversations and we talk about things rather than sweep them under the rug and act like they don't exist, because nothing gets done like that, but too often that is how things get handled. And this has to stop. And I'm very glad that we're here tonight because this is a step forward to putting an end to the things that are being swept under the rug. Am I right? Okay, so thank you. Thank you very much. And right now, we're going to call up Karen Thompson from Utah Prisoners Advocate Network.
You're so kind. Thank you. And it's good to see you here tonight. A lot of people ask us, what's UPAN? And so I have a written statement to share with you. The Utah Prisoner Advocate Network is a 501c3 nonprofit and 100% volunteer grassroots community outreach organization. We aim to simplify the incarceration process for the inmate supporters. That's us. While also advocating for better conditions inside Utah jails and prisons. We do this primarily by educating the public through monthly reports, meetings, and newsletters, and open dialogue with the Utah Department of Corrections, county jail administrations, guest speakers, coalition forming, and a shared network of useful supporters. Instead of membership, our network constituents are formed by volunteers, criminal justice advocates, industry professionals, expert advisors, coalition organizations, formerly incarcerated individuals, and over 1,000 families of the incarcerated. And unfortunately, our numbers are growing. When I hear those numbers, those world-class numbers of this state, it makes my heart sad and it makes me sick because we dare to call this organization that incarcerates our loved ones a correctional facility. And I see very little correction being done. I appreciate you all being here tonight. Thank you for your support, and we hope that you can continue to support this good and worthy cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, and also thank you, UPAN. Right now, I'm going to open up the space for family, friends, and loved ones of those who are incarcerated, as well as people who have been personally impacted by incarceration. and the continuing medical crisis in the prison. Also advocates who work closely with our impacted communities. Right now would be a time for you to come up and speak.
Wait, hold my camera. Sorry. First off, I'd like to address how thankful I am to talk about the difficulties my family has faced over the years on dealing with such an unfair justice system. I want to give thanks to the ACLU, Black Lives Matter chapter, and many more family and friends who have helped along the way. Every day it's heartbreaking not knowing if I'll be able to speak to my father to see if he's doing okay or holding up. And it worries me even knowing if he's not receiving the medication or medical care he needs for his diabetes and his high blood pressure. I know he tries to stay strong for our family, but I know he's hurting deep down inside with him. Sorry, this is hard. With how him and how many other incarcerated individuals are being treated and neglected. They can't even give him the bare minimum of care in these prisons. This new prison was supposed to be better, but from all I've heard is that it is just as bad, if not worse, than the other prisons. How does Utah State expect us to be okay with our families being treated so inhumanely on a daily basis? My father knew there would be risk to coming home when he took his plea deal, but at that point, it was die in prison or die trying to come home. He wanted to see his family, so he chose to come home. The amount of times I've had to argue with these facilities to make sure they kept him safe are countless. I should not have to beg you to treat my family like humans. We all make mistakes, but that shouldn't mean you get to violate our rights. Inmates have not been able to get stamps for months and have limited phone calls. My dad doesn't even receive enough phone calls to call his children and his wife. I feel like they have done this and limited these to the inmates so they cannot tell their families how they are being neglected, how their health needs are not being met. I wonder how a lot of these guards go home knowing they treat these people worse than animals. Why is Utah State housing people that they cannot care for? And then they are upset when we speak up for the people who cannot speak for themselves. My heart is breaking more each day that I hear about how our families are being treated. I should not have to worry every day if I'll get the phone call saying my dad isn't here anymore because they do not care for these inmates. During COVID, they threw inmates into single cells all by themselves. No medication, no medical help. I thought that maybe our fight for fighting so hard that they would stop the cruelty, that maybe they wouldn't be so careless. But today, I can see that the cruelty has continued, and even more so in such vicious ways. Inmates are supposed to go through rehabilitation when entering into the prison, but we all know that does not happen. They have such limited resources and programs to help them do better. When they come back out to the free world after being treated so poorly during their incarceration, how does Utah State expect these inmates to integrate back into society without following down the wrong path again? The state needs to hold more accountability for what happens to our loved ones who are in their facilities and cared during their incarceration. My dad is an ex-gang member, so he knew there would be very, very many hard challenges to face while he's serving his sentence. He knew he would have to worry about the other inmates. But what he didn't think was that so many prison officials would be purposely putting him into harm's way when he's just trying to do the right thing and come back to his family. Every day he fights to come back to us, and it seems like they try to keep him there as much as he wants to come home. Sorry. We are fighting so hard to keep him into a safe and caring facility, but what are we gonna do when there's not a facility who is caring about him? I don't want to receive the phone call knowing he's gone. Every day I pray that he just calls and I don't get a call. I stay up late worrying at night that he ain't coming home, that he's not gonna see the amazing things I've done because of him. How I'm working so hard to be a youth advocate that he has pushed me to be a better person and not to follow in a path like his. He knows he has done wrong. He knows he made mistakes. We're human, that's what we do, but we don't treat each other inhumanely because of a mistake. We have to do better, and we have to make the state hold accountability for what they are doing to our loved ones. The faces that are so hidden behind these walls need to be shown. They should not be treated the way they are being treated. We should not have to fight every day for them to care about our families. It's like the more we fight, the harder they push them over and over back into the system. If they're in there for rehabilitation, why are we pushing them so hard into going back into prisons, the jails? We need to offer resources, real resources, but we're not. And so we have to be the ones to hold these people accountable. It's not happening no more. We are not staying silent, and we are gonna fight until something is done. I appreciate you all for hearing me out. I'm so thankful for everyone here. Ray, the ACLU, you guys are amazing people and inspire me to do better. I hope I get to meet more of you, but I will pass the mic over and let someone else speak.
Thank you. My name's Debbie, and I'm new to the group and the volunteering. My granddaughter, she had a lot to express tonight about her dad and uncles and stuff. I just want to tell you guys thank you so much. Being a part of this group has really helped me get through this. I've been through a lot with my son. I got a call. I did get a call from Gunnison. I had a son-in-law that got killed out there in 2009. And when I got my call the other night, I was like, oh no, when it said Lieutenant Lyons, I about dropped. I literally about died. I was thankful my son was okay. He was stabbed and wounded. He has not received any medical so far. They have taken his phone calls away. I had to have other inmates put my number on their list so that I can get these calls because they've taken him away from Jesse and from my son. I tried to call today to talk to his caseworker, and I was shut down at the office, and even Chris called to kind of verify and see what was going on, and she was shut down too. I hope we can all come together and fight, because these are all our loved ones, and they are everything to us. And I feel when I read you guys' stories, it breaks my heart for what we have to go through, that nobody cares. And I was told the other day, well, about a week ago, by one of the officers when I got there, I think it was a lieutenant, and he specifically told me, he's not your son anymore, he's ours. And I'm thinking to myself, that is not true, he is mine. And no matter what, he may just only be a number to you, but that is still my kid. And I love him, and I worry about him every single day, and it just drives me crazy. I wonder, am I ever gonna see him again? I got a call, and there was another stabbing in there yesterday, in the pill line, and I'm thinking, what is going on? Why don't they care enough? And even when I talked to his caseworker today, finally, he did end up calling me back. He said, Debbie, there's not a lot I can talk to you about anymore. And I thought, you know what, why? Is it because I called? Is it because I had Molly call for me? And now you guys are on to what we're all about and what we want to do. And it does need to stop. And I know everybody suffers, and I love every one of you, and I am so thankful for all of you. And what you had to say was beautiful. Those are my thoughts all the time, and if I could get them out like you did, you're amazing. I love you all, and thank you. Angelica just wanted to say how she feels about her uncles and dad, and how it affects her.
Knowing that my dad lost 10 pounds in a week because they're not feeding them right and they're not getting the proper treatment and being treated like humans, and the guards are treating them like they just own them, and they're not treating them like they're humans because they did something bad, and that they think that they can't be out in life because of the mistakes they made. Knowing that not everyone's perfect and everyone makes mistakes in life. And it's crazy to think that, like she said, the guards can just go home knowing that they treated people so poorly throughout their day, and the days that are going to continue to happen. And it's not okay that they're treating our family members or loved ones like this because of mistakes they've made, knowing that they tried so hard, but they keep doing things to make them go back, like parole officers not being there to trust them, and the parole officers are just pushing them harder, knowing that they can't go any further. And I think there should just be more resources, with the board saying that they need resources, but they're not providing resources for everyone. But I don't know all of you, but I just am so thankful that there's so many people that have the same story and same family members and loved ones. That's all. Thank you, guys.
Hi folks, my name's Terry Ing. My best friend was in Gunnison. He was supposed to be released today. Instead, he got the death penalty. You know, they put him in jail to protect them from the public. Who's gonna protect them inside? Nobody. Everybody turns their head. You know, my friend asked to be moved out of his cell or have a new cellmate. Apparently he did this several times and they didn't do nothing about it. And now he's dead. All because no one could answer one question. You know, and it's not fair to all of us to have our family, our loved ones incarcerated. I see my grandkids, they're so sad. It breaks my heart knowing that their grandpa was taken away from them unexpectedly. We need better programs in these jails and stuff, you know, and it's only going to come from us and the people, you know, like at ACLU. They're helpful. I mean, there's just so much problems that they have to address, and they think, you know, oh, we're going to build a new prison and it's going to solve all these problems. No, it's not. We need to work from the inside out instead of from the outside in, because we're the only ones outside, you know? And it breaks my heart to see this, and it especially breaks my heart for my grandkids, because my best friend got the death penalty for a DUI, which wasn't fair. You know, I was expecting to see him today because he was getting out today, and 8 days ago he was murdered. But we all have to stay strong and keep pushing forward because our loved ones are out there and they need us. And you know, that's about it, guys. You guys have a good evening. Thank you.
My name is Ronnie Wilcox, and I am representing a nonprofit organization here in Utah called Prisoner Advocate Group. And we represent families and inmates who have just a variety of issues inside of the prisons and the jails. For us, we see that the problem doesn't necessarily start in the prisons and the jails, but starts in our schools with push out of our black kids and our brown kids and our low income kids, and our teachers push them. He's a hard kid, just push him through. Oh, she's a troublemaker, just push her through. And before you know it, these kids have no support. Nobody cares about them. They come from difficult, you know, social backgrounds, and who's there to support them? Who's there? No one is there to support them. And before you know it, these kids band together and they're doing what they know to survive. It is a survival mode. They don't know any different. No one's taught them any different. So they grow up doing what they know. And unfortunately, that leads to incarceration. And once they're incarcerated, they get into the system. And I've heard so many times people say the system, the prison systems need to be revamped. You know what? They're working exactly the way they were set to work. They are making money. They are, what is our recidivism rate in this state? Is it 70%? I mean, that's 70 out of every 100 people go back to prison. I mean, what are we doing here, people? If our high school students, if 70 out of 100 high school students were not graduating, we would be up in arms. We would be fighting tooth and nail. Why are our kids not graduating? Yet, why do we not have thousands of people out here on the lawn today? Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. If we don't all stand up and do something about this, this is going to eat this country alive. It is going to eat us alive. And I think there's something that society doesn't understand, and it's that our incarcerated individuals, they don't get paid all of this money to support themselves while they're in there. If they want a box of Twinkies, let's say, and it costs $2.75, and they make, on a good job, $5 a month, where do you think that they're going to get the rest of that money? You know, are they going to trade with other people? I mean, people are going to do what they have to do to survive. They will do what they have to do to survive. So that money comes from families. I have a son myself who is no longer incarcerated, but while he was incarcerated, in between phone calls and commissary and attorney's fees, it was $18,000. That is so hard on a family to have to come up with money like that. It's outrageous. And until society stands up and really takes a long, hard look at what this is and where this starts, where it starts, not where it's at, but where it starts, this is never going to change. We need to get our butts into those schools, and we need to see what those teachers are doing, and we need to change what that is, because if we don't, this is never going to be any different. Thank you.
Yat Kwasan Kwasa Sodengi by Henson. I'm Gail, Grandma Gail. I'm also an educator here in the Salt Lake School District. My family and I moved here in the 80s. My daughter's incarcerated at the women's prison. I've started volunteering for UPenn, and so I do Director of Women's Issues. She was in college at the U, and she started using meth. Next thing I know, we can't find her. She has grandchildren now, and we love her. We pray for her every day. We talk to her every day. She's a vital part of our family. And the women all started just like we're saying. These are all letters that I receive. And I have the audit, some of the reports from the audit. It's just not fair. There's a lot of trauma that we deal with in society. only our Creator knows what really happened, what's really happening. It's time for us to love. Have we heard of agape love? I've seen it from my elders. They told me to forgive. I said, well, I don't have a good education. I'm being given discarded material. I'm being taken out of my home and to live in a boarding school where I don't see you for months. My grandma told me, you cannot hate. You must love. You must walk in peace. And you must count all human beings as sacred and holy. And I've tried to exemplify that life. And when my daughter got caught up in this, we continue to tell her daughter, she has one daughter, and she has 5 grandboys, beautiful 13 to 4-year-olds. We expect her to come home. Everything that we do here is for them. The education departments, the jobs, the sewing, the cooking, the cleaning, more. If we really are rehabilitating and teaching and revamping, what are we doing? I'm telling her, you want to talk to young women with the experiences that you had, because her fiance committed suicide. Then my husband was killed. Then her little boy, 2-year-old, was killed in a car accident. It was just too much for her to handle, to carry that load, the guilt. But what are we teaching people when they come out? What kind of programs have we prepared for them to come out and have jobs, have a place to live, have food, have all the paperwork that they need? We're a society that just blames, a society that is a caste system. Oh, you're brown, so you don't come up this way. We remove the rungs off the ladder for our children. The precincts across the Jordan River. So I just challenge all of us, our leaders especially, look deep in your heart, because you never know how it's going to hit our society, our neighborhoods. And I just don't want to be like anything evil or bad to come upon anyone at all, ever. But I just want equality, listening ear, and some compassion for our people, our families, our community, our citizens that are housed over the new facility. Yeah.
Hi there, my name is Chris Moon. I am the UPenn secretary. Started it back with 2 other women in 2013. We all had incarcerated loved ones. And I just have to say, because I do think society thinks that it is the black and the brown and the yellow in prison, it's not. My son, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and he probably is a minority. He did do wrong, and he paid 9 years for it. And not only that, but I don't know if he's alive or dead today, and I will spend the rest of my life fighting for the incarcerated people to make sure that they get the medical help. And it's not just the son, it's the families. Many people don't understand what a parent or sibling goes through when they have an adult child in prison. We walk around every day and sleep every night in that prison with our loved ones. You see us here, alive, living, and laughing, when my existence is in prison with someone I love. You see me smile, you do not see my tears. You hear my hopes, but you do not live my nightmares. You see my light, but you can never fill my darkness. As surely as my loved one sits in prison, I am too serving his sentence. His fears are my fears, his terror is my terror. His anger is my anger. My guilt is his guilt. His shame is my shame. Please remember this when you hear that someone is being sentenced for a crime, for any crime. There are loved ones that are being sentenced as well. My only crime, your only crime, is loving them, my son. There's a lot of family members that wanted to speak today, but they live out of state, and so I told them that I would try to be their voice today. The first one is from a family member whose dad was killed in prison a week ago. My dad was incarcerated at the Gunnison prison for DUI charges from 2019 and was scheduled to be released Tuesday, September 6th, today. Within the last 3 to 6 months, my dad had been treated poorly by the guards and staff. He had also requested several times to be moved to a safe area in the prison. Also calling family members and expressing the same request and many other concerns he was experiencing with no action. He at one point was transported to the University of Utah for back problems, and the problem wasn't treated properly. He complained about it, and after that visit, he wasn't taken back to Gunnison prison. They took him to Draper, and he was stuck there for 2 months requesting to be moved back to the Hope program and the unit of Gunnison where he wasn't at risk. The state of Utah and the Department of Corrections is negligently responsible for what happened to my father, from wrongful death, misconduct, neglect, and proper medication, and much more. It's their job to keep all inmates safe. The unintolerable excuse of being understaffed is completely unacceptable. Before you build a new prison, you should have more than enough staff to keep everyone in the prison safe. The director of the DLC says understaffing and funding is the complete problem, and that is inexcusable. It's their excuse for what has happened, and that is just not acceptable. This needs to change, and it needs to change now. It needs to change now. He was here earlier. He brought his grandson, who's in the guard, and I mean, it's just heartbreaking, you know. He was so looking forward to his grandpa being out today. I received another message from another inmate's fiance that died 2 weeks ago. He was a 27-year-old man. He had a heart pacer, and of course he needed his meds. She said she wasn't sure if he was getting them because he didn't want her to worry. But I know when he was in prison at least a week asking for medical, and they never came up on him. It got worse, and he waited almost a week, and then he just gave up. I talked to him on August 10th for the last time. I talked to him on the phone, and about 3 days later, I got worried. Didn't hear from him, tried calling the prison, tried emailing his caseworker about his whereabouts. Nobody would tell me. They didn't get word back to me until the day he died. And now we actually don't even know when he died or what it's from. They won't tell us anything. The autopsy won't be back for 17 to 18 weeks. She wanted to be here tonight, but she couldn't. It was too hard for her. I have 2 other letters. From family members. Many people don't understand what a parent or sibling goes through when they have an adult child in prison. So this is from another family member. My son was initially incarcerated for failure to show up to drug court at the tender age of 19. He was an all-star lacrosse player on the way to college and was introduced to opiates, which medicated his anxiety. David was a blue-eyed blonde who cared deeply for his friends. Often his friends said he was the best friend I ever had. He was so honest, he loved pets as if they were his children. When their dog was deteriorating from cancer as a high schooler, he was the one who got up with her during the middle of the night. He never complained about taking her out. He was full of love and compassion. He loved art and was known for his innovative haircuts and shoes. He's been in and out of prison for the past 10 years because of self-medicating from illicit drugs for his generalized anxiety disorder, panic attacks, and insomnia. These mental illnesses fuel addiction. He now suffers marked PTSD secondary to the violence he has seen and experienced while incarcerated. His symptoms mirror that of a war veteran who has been on the front line in battle. He has received no help in the prison system, only more trauma. The system in Utah mirrors what exists in the US. I consider these tactics human rights abuses. We Americans incarcerate more people per capita than anywhere else in the world. This is not related to an increase in crime, but an increase in policy. This has caused overcrowding and financial burden on states, along with harm to prisoners, and increased stress to prison employees who cannot manage the numbers. This system is inhumane. Research shows that incarceration causes worsening mental health issues, which include anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation, to name a few. Currently in the Utah prison system, the conditions are appalling. Prisoners are not being seen by medical providers. Medications have been abruptly stopped, which has created great harm to the number of individuals. Prisoners are routinely exposed to violence, and gang activity is allowed to run rampant. The repercussions include post-traumatic stress disorder. The long-term consequences are boredom, lack of medical care, chronic stress, lack of purpose, and violence. Lack of autonomy and the unpredictable environment, along with the abuse from guards and other inmates, result in worsening mental illness and contributes to our high recidivism rates. Personally, I can relate to the research. My son, who's incarcerated, suffers from marked anxiety, insomnia, chronic fear, boredom, and depression. He's never been offered help. He has witnessed violence and one murder. His crime is an illness called addiction, and his experience in the Utah State prison system has been more harmful than his addictive disorder. His cellmate has chronic pain and a disability and has put in 22 ICRs since June and has not been seen. ICRs are what the prison requires them to fill out if they have a medical problem. He has repeatedly put grievance reports that have not been acknowledged, and he can no longer walk to the common meal area and is now not eating because he cannot walk to access food because of the prohibitive pain. He and his cellmate have asked for the help on a daily basis, and they are ignored. These are human rights violations. Placing humans in cages is erroneous. It's a violation of human rights. Please take action. We need to care for our human beings and take action. Thank you, a concerned mom.
I have two more letters from family members that couldn't be with us tonight. The first one says, in August 12th of 2022, my loved one was seen by doctors for an ear condition. She was diagnosed with a bent eardrum. The doctor took her vitals and found that her heart rate was very high, 134. She was told that she needed to go on heart medication and was to have blood work to follow. Now remember, the inmates had not had any medications for 12 days. My daughter had had her heart rate checked on August 19th, and her heart rate was 130. In 7 days, her heart rate had only been checked 2 times. My daughter filled out the ICR forms when they were available, and on September 1st, medical came by at 4 o'clock in the morning to do the blood work. At 5 o'clock in the morning, they came back again to do the blood work again, saying that they had performed it wrong. We took the blood work wrong, and it will take us 21 days to get the blood work set through and analyzed. On September 6th, her blood pressure was 161 over 118. When an individual is incarcerated and they're taken off of their medications cold turkey, they should be monitored every day. What's happening in the prison that this isn't being done? The next one is also from a parent who couldn't be here tonight, but she lives in Arizona, and her loved one is incarcerated at the new facility. My son was attacked and stabbed multiple times while he was in prison. Ever since this has happened, he has had chronic and daily pain. The prison has done nothing to address this. One physician assistant in particular, who's always had an attitude towards my son, tells him, "You'll be lucky if you get Tylenol, and I'm not even going to give you that today." They said that his nausea, his headaches, his anxiety, and his pain is related to something else, and he needs to go have an MRI. But no one in the medical system has ordered that MRI. Why? Why are they ignoring such pain, and why are they ignoring these complaints? See, he is supposed to be able to, okay, what is he supposed to be able to do to address this pain? The issue is not going to get any better until we shine a light on it. And I won't read the rest of this, but that's what we're here tonight to do, to shine a light on some of these basic human pain and sufferings. And I second the question, why does Utah continue to house and incarcerate these people when it's clear that they do not have the facilities to care for them? Thank you.
So I have a letter from a family who was not able to attend tonight. Our son is immune compromised on methotrexate and Humira. He was fully immunized but got COVID last October. He is now in a wheelchair and has trouble speaking. We thought he had suffered a stroke, but medical said no. He did not receive physical therapy, but was assigned an ADA inmate to help dress him, etc. He has progressed to using a walker and is speaking and thinking fine, but it has taken months to recover. He has not received two with a full set of teeth, but because of limited dentistry available, he now has a full set of dentures. He has difficulty obtaining denture cleanser and adhesive in the new facility. He has also suffered nonstop migraine headaches for 4 weeks and suffered 36 hours with one while waiting for a shot for the pain. He says that many inmates in Bear are complaining of headaches as well as guards. Why is this?
I didn't expect to get up here because my wife spoke for our group, the prisoner advocate group. But I can't stand here and listen to your stories and not tell you. Don't sit back and wait for an advocate group to help your inmate. You call every damn person at the UDC out there. You call the administration, you call your legislator, you call the governor, you call the governors, every person that works for the governor, because if you don't do it, it's not ever gonna happen. If you don't stand up and make a difference yourself, if you don't do it, nobody's going to do it for you. We have spoke to every person in this state, and they basically go, oh, you know, we'll leave it up to them, or, you know, the doctors are quacks out there. You know, I'm trying to piss you off right now. I hope it's working. Because I want you to stand up when you leave here, and I want you to go make some freaking phone calls, and I want you to send some emails, and I want you to go stand on your legislator's door and say, this is bullshit. You guys got a medical audit. You know what's happening out there, and you're just letting it happen because they're inmates. This is Utah, and we are embarrassed for what you're doing here. Stand up and go take care of your inmates.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
My name is JC. I'm here with Journey of Hope, and I stand before you as a survivor of incarceration. I have nothing to add to all the beautiful words that have been said, especially of the family members. I always felt as an incarcerated person that I was dehumanized. Looking around, seeing that we have more people show up for unsheltered resource centers to protest them, to help our siblings on the streets than we do here. This is what dehumanizes us, when we lack to see the humanity of those at the margins. It's not the incarcerated alone that are dehumanized. We're all dehumanized when we don't stand up. So, it's difficult when you have a program that you're trying to start back up in prison for mentorship, to speak truth to power, because we fear that we'll lose that opportunity, because we've seen people say, well, they're inmates, they're prisoners, they're people, they're incarcerated people, and let's not forget that.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Ksenia, and I run a nonprofit called the Nomad Alliance. It's interesting, I'm going off on right after you, and I'm really here just to link the fact that formerly incarcerated individuals are 10 times more likely to end up homeless than the rest of the population. So there is a really clear link between how difficult incarceration is in general, but how much harder it is to pick yourself back up out on the streets once you've been branded with a big bad F, felony on your record. So I just want to reach out and say I'm really, really sorry for how I've never been incarcerated, but a lot of the people, most of the people we work with have been. And I'm really, really sorry for what you have to experience in jail, the dehumanization, and then a lot of you having to end up within a life on the streets. It's not okay. It's really not okay. The Nomad Alliance, in conjunction with several other groups, Black Lives Matter and Utah Against Police Brutality, are planning a protest, not a protest, but a dance protest for all of us, for the unsheltered, for the incarcerated, specifically because of the recent murder of a woman who was homeless. And the thing is, she would have been incarcerated had they not killed her. They gave her 5 criminal counts posthumously after she was dead for meth pipes and possession and a weed pipe and other things, and not complying with the police when they asked her for her name. And that is really the unfortunate truth. Is it seems like people who are suffering from mental health issues, from insane trauma, from the crutch of addiction, are often have, two choices or two routes in life: is incarceration or homelessness or even death. And that is really not okay. So if anybody wants to make some joyful noise and dance through the streets on Sunday at 3 p.m., we're going to do it for Megan Moan. She was a really, really beautiful soul, one of the bravest people I've ever met. And we're going to do it for Javi, who was living with on our property in a micro house before Murray City came in and forced us to evict everyone. And he violated parole, was back in prison, had to be shipped out to Kansas to serve 3 years. And I really respect the speaker who came up here and said, you have to fight for your loved ones. You have to email and call and do everything you can. And I was lucky enough to have had videos of Javi helping his community, of text messages with his PO when he was trying to reach his PO and he couldn't get a hold of him. And so his lawyer was able to share those in court, and he got released on parole that same day out in Kansas. So don't ever think that you as a family member or as someone who loves someone or someone who's experiencing incarceration or friends who can't do something, go out there and show proof. People really need to see that, these are human beings. Be a character witness for them. Every single human being is good. We all make bad choices sometimes. A lot of that is out of our hands. A lot of that is trauma-induced. And, we cannot choose a life that we've been given, but we can fight for those people who've been given the wrong hand. So I just want to say thank you guys for allowing me here to speak. I don't mean to co-opt your event, but I really do love every single one of you, and I know that we can change the system if we all unite together. And the system is broken. The incarceration, the mass prison industrial complex, with the homeless epidemic, with the affordable housing crisis, with all of these things are interconnected. Our system is broken. It's failing every single one of us. And I think if we unite together, we really can change it. They don't know how loud our voice is. They don't know our power. We just have to prove it and show it to them. Thank you.
I got really excited when she read the letter from the family member, because I came up to read the letter from the family member, and I was like, yay, I don't have to get there. But, okay, so I've been out of prison for 1.5 years. I got a job 3 months later because I had such anxiety with society that I didn't know, I couldn't even leave my house for the first 3 months. And then, so I've had a job this whole time, and I've been homeless this whole time. I can't find a home. People don't stop and think about, okay, they want to run a background check. Okay, they want your credit ran. Okay, they want to explain why you lost 5 years. The system's broken, like everybody keeps saying, the system is broken, and they don't stop to think, okay, so, most of us get out, fortunately, or unfortunately, because there's days I think, God, it would be so much easier to just go in and have 3 hots and a cup, but I don't, and I keep fighting. But who do we talk to? Where do we fix this broken link of, I bust my butt every day. I'm not out running the streets. I could have just ran and found my old friends and found a couch to sleep on and been fine and ran my old life again, but I didn't. And I fight every day to not. And sometimes I don't make it as good as I wanted to, but I'm still here and I'm still fighting, and for what? I'm worse now than I was ever when I was running and gunning. And that sucks. What are we fighting for? And who do we talk to say, hey, not all of us want to go back, but what are we fighting for when I'm living worse now than I've ever been in my life? With a job, with doing the right thing every day, except for I can't find anywhere to live. I look everywhere. So, it's just we need to fix the system. That's just all there is to it.
Okay, I just want to go back on what Karen was talking about everybody needs to, you need to get a hold of your legislator. You need to do get your voice out there. So sorry, I'm gonna start crying. My boyfriend, when he went to the new prison, everybody was bitching about the mosquitoes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot deal with this. So I called the Magna abatement team. I am the one who got a hold of the damn abatement team and got them to do something. And so now the abatement team, Molly and everybody is, whoever's all doing that, is now they're getting a hold of the Salt Lake abatement team. So now they're actually doing something. So what I'm trying to say is do something, say something, because your voice does matter.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I was incarcerated at the Draper prison back in 2016 for a year. I got out, I went to parole. Did I like what they had to say? No, I didn't. Today I stand here with 6 years, almost 6 years clean. I have all my kids under my roof. And now I'm going through the incarceration process with my kids' dad. He has gotten out. I feel like these parole agents give them enough rope to hang themselves. And I kept telling my boyfriend, I was like, look, you need to go to your agent and be honest. Be open, be honest. Like, you're struggling here, you're struggling there. He did that. What'd they do? They took him in for a 72-hour hold, took him back to prison. I had my kids alone, both of these two little boys running around. I had one of them alone, and he barely was here for this one by the grace of God. So he went back on another violation, and instead of offering, like what my agent did, programming, just things like that, like these agents out here in Salt Lake, I feel like don't care. The system is so broken, and like everyone has got up here and said, don't stop, keep going. Don't stop it. Oh, you need to call back or keep going. Hell, show up to the damn place. Demand to talk to somebody because these are our loved ones sitting there and it's not okay what they're doing. I get calls every day from my nephew and he's just like broken and hurt and he's not involved in the gangs, nothing like that. And like, I just don't understand. Like, when I was in prison, I don't even remember any of this going on. And so I don't know how this has been for many years. Maybe I just passed by it or just stayed up out of the mix. I don't know. But we have to fight for our loved ones because it is possible. Like, where's that girl that is here, has been out for a year? You know, it's possible. We can do it. Like, we're not just a number. We can come out and be good citizens, but we need to be taught the right ways, the right tools. So thanks, guys. Love y'all.
Well, a huge thank you to everybody who spoke today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Pastor Sean, unless there's any last person who wants to come up. Go ahead, Pastor. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Okay, so we heard a lot that the system is broken. The system's not broken. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's going after us exactly how it's supposed to do. How do we stop it? Just like you said, we apply the pressure, right? What keeps the prisons going? The money, right? How do they get the money? Our taxes. Call your legislator. Literally, call your mayor. Call your city's mayor and tell them that you do not want any more of the tax budget increase to benefit the system that is not benefiting the humans it's putting in. You need to do this. It's very much been highlighted, but I do have to touch on this point that the system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's not a broken mistake. They did not do this by accident. They designed this to do this to us. That's the truth. Don't leave here thinking that an accident happened and now your incarcerated loved one is just somehow screwed. No, that's not what happened. The system was designed to abuse your loved one. Now let's get it together and go after the system. Yes, there might not be a large crowd here today, but there is so much love in Utah that supports every bit of our community. And you know what I think a big issue is that people don't know what to do. A lot of people came up here and didn't know what to do. A lot of times I don't know what to do. But what I do know that we can do, and we can do this together, we can do emailing and calling, and we can do all of these campaigns. We can set a date, and we can flood one system. This is not a problem. We are capable. Do you understand me when I say these things? Okay, so like I'm saying, my name is Ray and I'm down. Okay, so you guys want to call somebody? Okay, let's do it. You want to email somebody? Okay, let's do it. You like signs? I like signs and megaphones. Let's do it. Let's pick a spot and let's do it. Like, I'm down. So if you're down, make some noise. I know it's a vigil, but I am a little louder than that. Make some noise. Okay, make some real noise because we're really, really serious about this, right? Okay, so hit me up. Let's do this. 385-482-1172.
Thanks, Ray. All right, Pastor Sean,
Okay.
close us out.
You know, what powerful testimonies. And I was going to say stories, but stories may make it sound like the words weren't true. And these are testimonies. These are testimonies about real people struggling with real things behind the wall. Incarceration is no joke, not just for the inmate, but for the family, as we heard this evening. And these are all things that we've already known, but these are things that we need to continue to speak about, continue to talk about, not just within our group, but as was said earlier, to legislation. We need to pick up phones. We need to send emails. What a great avenue that we have nowadays with the internet and all these ways of communication. We can use these. We can use these. We can use these for a cause to help people who are in a situation but can't help themselves, because it's hard to fight what's going on behind bars when you're behind bars. Am I right? And that's why we're here this evening, to support them, to support the families and the loved ones, because it's not just the person that is in prison, it's the families, it's the sons, it's the daughters, it's the mothers, the fathers, the cousins, it's everybody who is in contact with someone who is incarcerated. It's not just them doing time, it's the community that's doing time. And the community needs to wake up. They need to wake up. You know, I was trying to, there's something I got to say. You know, when the sister was talking about love and these things, you know, we are in a very religious state, you know, where churches are filled every Sunday. And I'm a preacher, and I know that, you know, we preach on love and forgiveness and God's grace and His mercy, you know, and these things are real, but we need to show them to people when we leave church. We need to show these to people that are incarcerated. We need to show this to the families, empathy. We need to show this to people, not just talk about these things, because there's way too much talk. We have to deal with these things and address these things. That's why I'm so glad to be a part of what's going on tonight, because this is real talk right here. About real situations, about real circumstances, about real people losing their lives when it's all unnecessary. So thank you all for coming out. If there's anybody else that had a letter they want to read, or a song or a poem that they wanted to say, please come up to the mic right now. If not, we're going to close this thing. Not forever, but just for right now, because the struggle ain't stopping here, y'all. It's going to continue. So as long as the struggle continues, we've got to continue. Does that make sense? And we can't stop till the struggle is over. And you know, one day, things are going to get better. And how do I know? Because we're not going to be quiet about it. We're not going to close our mouths. We're going to continue to fight and continue to use the things that we have to use to stand up for people that are incarcerated and their loved ones and those who are being harmed in the prison. So if no one else has anything to say, we're going to close for another moment of silence, and then a small prayer, and then we're going to go. So let's have another moment of silence. Okay. So now we're going to go into prayer. Again, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for every voice that spoke today, Father God. And we just ask that you continue to strengthen those who are dealing with incarceration and continue to strengthen their families and bless the advocates. Give them strength to continue and give us all strength to continue for those who are struggling behind the bars and for those that are in love and for those that are caring for those that are still behind bars. So, amen. Thank you all. Oh, and I forgot to mention one thing. Over at the table, there's stamps. You can write letters. You can do all that stuff over at the table. So if anybody needs stamps and wants to write someone, by all means, go over to the table and get that done.
I was like, I guess I'll take care of his dog. Yeah. It's so rough.
I got a great video. And I know there's a lot, I've already talked to some people. They said a lot of people like donate those stuff.
This is Eric. Eric, he's an old better boundary. He's the old school. I know, oh, that's right. Him and Shirley are like, but
right? I went up and was visiting my boyfriend the first time I did. When I went home, I had 8 lights. It was there for only an hour, and I was inside. Yeah. Yeah, he says there's red spots.
What do you just look to? Unless you talk to somebody about what's going on?
This is my daughter, Brienne. You give hugs? You want to give hugs?
You gotta be kidding. Yeah.
This is my mom.
Serious?
Kathy. Thanks for recording.
God, irony is just dead, isn't it?
And I just,
It is
every time I talk
I mean, I knew it was dead, but like,
I cry because I don't want to like
done it in a way that is fathomable. Wow. We really killed our... The writers are just recycling content now. It's callback humor. It's like, it's the same characters are being recycled. We're a TV show. And not a good one, huh? Look, one where we just like all do the same thing over and over. You gotta be kidding me. God. Yes, high five. That is
But this is somebody I can talk to.
oh, I love it. Did you hear where her funeral was?
Yeah, she's with
Yes, specifically where in Laramie it was.
Oh, yeah,
You heard about me not existing, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Well, of course it was. Yeah, it didn't exist. Why would it be, right? It was at a venue. It was a square. do-si-do. She did not. She would have been a square dancing establishment. It really put a bow on the whole story, didn't it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm down for whatever you want. Whatever you want to do, however you like to see it.
You have to figure it out sometimes, man. It's a whole different crew. Like, literally, like, it's just being on the road, the only OGs. But, Zach?
You're so sweet. That's why I've been asking. I'm like, oh, can I have
Oh, Dunstan? Yeah, he's still around. He's tamed down. We fixed him. But him and, well, the thing is, him and his wife, the thing is, they just do like business development. They just kind of like get the contracts.
It's like my hair. Bye.
Yeah, so he's a lot cooler, he's a lot chiller. He's way less. The thing was, like, he didn't know what the fuck he did.
Oh, you're so sweet.
We didn't know. And so there was just so much tension. But no, he's alive. But Jenny does most of it. Business development. Jenny used to run a car. She's like, she's cool. I mean, she has yelled at my ass a few times. But it was all times I deserved it. It was all times where I'm like, yeah, that's screwed up. Yeah. And she's like, you're going to make me look bad. Because, you know, it's like her reputation. No, they're still involved. Yeah, they help bring in, they're carnival markets. You know, they bring in everything. Yeah, exactly. Well, the cool thing is there's this company called 360, which is like one of the biggest consulting firms in the country. And they have offices every day. And out of like a year, just building relationships. And now we're like, because they don't have like a field component. They're like comms guys. They're like the guys who call. Yeah, but they don't have a field component. But like they want to have one. And so like now they're like, oh yeah, let's go. Get it done. Because like once you have a guy, you know, it's just like, yeah, because you don't have to think about it. You're like, oh yeah, the guy will just do it.